Broadcasting live from an Airstream somewhere in Tornado Alley, bringing you the people, places, and stories from the Panhandle to the Red River. This is your Only in Oklahoma show.
And welcome to the show. Today we're talking with the voice of Braum, and this time it's talking back. And after the break, is Oklahoma the new doorway to outer space? I'm Brett.
And I am Harley.
So what's new with you? What's going on with you?
Lots of stuff.
You've been a traveling man.
I have been a traveling man.
You went to the upper Midwest.
I think it's the middle Midwest.
The middle Midwest,
Kansas City.
the abdomen
Yeah.
of the South.
The upper belly button.
The upper, not quite midriff of America.
Right. Found a new game.
What's it called?
It is...
This is a game you play when you're traveling?
No, this is a game. It's Uno. What is the version?
Uno for one?
No. It's like Ultimate Death or something.
Uh-huh.
Now, are you familiar with the Uno game?
So I'm going to be up front.
All right.
Full disclosure. I'm kind of a curmudgeon.
You don't like games.
I don't like games. And the reason why, and I'll be up front with you again, full disclosure, full transparency. This is the older I get, the more I'm just like, you know what? This is why. I don't pick up very quickly with games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how games go. You know, I don't want to be the guy that like, no, show him how to do. I don't want to. I'd rather just be the guy that goes, no, you guys go ahead and play the games, and I'm gonna go sit by myself.
Okay,
So I don't play games. I played the original Uno.
Okay, so the original Uno, you understand the rules basically.
Sort of.
There's a new version.
Okay.
That my in-laws introduced me to called Uno Show 'em No Mercy. You know how in the original Uno you had like a +2 or a +4 that you could make the next person draw cards?
Yeah.
This Uno has a +6 and a +10.
Oh.
And if you get to 25 cards in your hand, you're automatically eliminated from the game.
No joke.
We just started the very first game, and before we got around the table, somebody was eliminated from the game.
Really?
Yeah, it was a blast.
Is it just a way to get the game over with faster?
No, it goes back and forth, and you think, like, oh, I'm down to one card, and everybody else has got 19 cards, and then all of a sudden everything has changed. It's just that fast. It's really fun.
I wish I was more fun. I'm just not. I'm not fun.
Is Uno a Hasbro game?
It's a has-been game. Meaning it has been a game that I haven't taken part in. I don't know if it's Hasbro or not.
I don't know either.
Look it up.
But
We got
12
we've got 12 freaking computers. Look it up.
Hasbro.
I don't think it's Hasbro. I don't
No.
think so.
It's not.
What is it?
I don't know.
No.
But it did not like when I said that. Hasbro and Uno have a long-standing partnership. So, yes, they are related.
They're, what would you call it, by proxy? Adjunct gaming community. I don't know anything about games, man. I want to get involved and play the games, but I just, like I said, I guess I'm just a curmudgeon.
Well,
I sit in the other room and everyone's like, and it was yucking it up in the other room. I'm like, can I come? I just don't want to be. I don't want to watch Games are not spectator sports in the likes of Uno. You're either in or you're out.
Well, our interview coming up directly relates to Hasbro. He has been the voice
Yes.
of a lot of Hasbro games, our toys, characters over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And
dude, it was a blast. I'm being kind of like, yeah, that's cool. But literally for 2 hours, it was like, and then, you know, tell us about Cary Grant. You know, it was like we just fanboyed for 2 hours. It was the single best interview we've done.
yeah, so interview with Connor Quinn, who started as a child actor. You
Yeah.
will definitely know.
You would know him.
You will definitely know some of the stuff that he's done. He's transitioned to a voice actor. He's been the voice of Braum's OETA, which we didn't even talk about. And he's a regular on Howard Stern, which I don't know how we didn't get to that. But 2 hour long interview.
There was so much that could have been said that we missed. A lot of missed opportunities, but I don't think so.
He's coming back.
He's coming back, and we may actually get to go have supper with Connor Quinn if it works out.
Let's get to the interview.
Okay. Welcome to the show, Connor.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I love being here and honored that you guys are going to have me.
So, Connor, you had mentioned off the air, I'm making it sound like we're on the radio, an old radio guy here, that you were in the business at 5 or 6, childhood actor. What would we know you from?
So my very first role, I was, as far as actors go, I was extremely lucky. My very first role was when I was 6 years old, 1977. I was the voice of Christopher Robin for Winnie the Pooh.
You're kidding. Whoa.
No, that was my very first gig. I could not even read the script. They had to whisper my lines to me, and I would just repeat back whatever they said.
That is the
coolest
thing ever.
I'm from New Mexico. My parents are from Oklahoma, and they wanted a kind of a younger version of Christopher Robin, and he had to have a British accent. Well, my parents didn't know what a British accent was. I didn't know. So my British accent made Dick Van Dyke sound incredible.
Right.
Yeah. Horrible accent.
Yeah. His was bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, but wonderful.
So
so I started as a child actor and did a million voiceovers and commercials. If there was a cereal or a McDonald's commercial in the 70s and 80s, odds are I probably was in it. I did some of the very first Star Wars commercials for Kenner for their action figures as a little boy, and just continued on up. And to this day, that's what I do. I don't do as much on camera, hardly ever, but voice work is me, 365 days a year, no doubt.
So at what point in time did you realize that you were transitioning from an on-camera career to a voice career?
So I was probably about 15. It was pretty obvious I was not going to be the next James Dean or Tom Cruise,
right.
And so to stay in the business, my agent was like, you have a knack for voice work. And I've been called a utilitarian voiceover. In other words, I very rarely use this voice for anything, that I do for voice work. Usually it's, can you do Casey Kasem? We need, and then they'll mention a lot of guys that aren't familiar probably to the average person,
right.
but they're legends in voice work for commercials. And so I've made my living emulating those voices because they're no longer around. And that's what I do. And they also, it's a great tool to have for animation and for video games, because then I can create characters on the fly and that sort of thing relatively quickly, to help them in production and that type of thing. But it was probably about 15 when I started doing my last few commercials and TV shows. And occasionally I've done on camera, I've done my fair share of NCIS. I've played FBI agents and, the usual. But in general, I like going into a dark black box and talking to myself. That's my comfort zone.
So, at the risk of coming off saying something like "dance monkey," what's your favorite voice, and can we have a little sample?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So a voice that so there was a gentleman in the voiceover world. He is known. The average person wouldn't know who he is or care, but they would recognize his voice. So in the a little bit in the 70s, but mainly the 80s and 90s, Hal Douglas was his name. He was so there's two in a world voices. There's Don LaFontaine, which everybody pretty much knows.
Right.
In a world, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Hal was kind of the romantic, the rom-com. She was a cop, he was a killer, and together they're cops and robbers. Begins Friday, November 23rd at a theater near you. That type of
Right.
uh, kind of laid back. And so I used that voice for all the Harry Potter movies. I was the movie trailer voice for all the Harry Potter. So Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone begins Friday, November 23rd at a theater near you.
Wow.
Just the same. And I still use that voice quite a bit, even in Oklahoma. Here in Oklahoma, I use it for Braum's. At Braum's, we've been making handmade vanilla ice cream for over 50 years. We hope you have the best of holidays from Braum's.
That's
That type of
great.
thing. It's
I listened to.
it's
I'm
the
not.
same voice, just applied differently.
I listened to your demo reel
What's
on
that?
YouTube. I listened to your demo reel on YouTube.
Oh.
I was like, this is a dream come true to be able to. I have been. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've trained my whole life to try to do things on the microphone, and being a voice artist is something that I've always wanted to do. But for you,
That's cool.
you took the discipline of being a child actor, learning lines and things like that. How did any of that translate or into the more technical craft of being a professional voice actor? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I coach students, and a lot of guys come to me wanting to do voiceover. They've been told they've got a great voice.
Yeah.
And it's not about the voice. Like,
Mhm.
they don't care what I sound like. I mean, that might be 1% of why I get an audition. They don't book me because I sound like the Harry Potter guy, or I sound like this, or whatever. They book me because, I've developed the skill of telling a story and getting people interested. Whether, that sound like the Harry Potter guy, or if I sound like, even if I'm doing Visa, there's a little place just outside Stillwater, Oklahoma that serves up the best baby back ribs. But if you go to Ray's, be sure to bring your Visa card because they don't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. So it doesn't matter what voice you're using. It's can you make this story interesting? It's like we're gathered around a campfire, and I'm going to tell them a story about Harry Potter. I'm going to tell them a story about Pampers diapers or Braum's ice cream. So it's that ability to manufacture a story. So to answer your question, when I was younger, those long hours in front of a camera was the learning the discipline of acting. So voiceover is 1% acting and 99% acting.
Right.
And that's just what it comes down to. I think too many people think it's about the voice, and it's not. Usually if someone says, I've always been told I've got the voice for radio, it's like, well, that's not a great sign, because
Right.
that's not what the industry wants anymore. They don't want that. When I grew up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, they wanted Orson Welles, the voice of God, Gary Owens. They wanted that tomorrow night on Who's the Boss? They wanted that sound.
Yeah.
And that's what I studied, is those guys, Casey Kasem and all those, Alexander Scorby, and like the Visa guy. That was a real dude that I had studied with, and I took over Visa emulating his voice. His name was Ed Grover, and if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't be talking to you guys now. I mean, that he handed me my career on a silver platter, because he retired and told Visa, there's a kid that does my voice like me. Nobody cares who it really is, and he's a hell of a lot cheaper than I am. And so
Yeah.
that's what helped my career. But yeah, it's all acting, no matter whether it's a Pampers commercial or if I'm doing an audio drama. It's all about acting, and that's where, as an actor, and anyone actually, for the most part, that's where we're going to beat AI. Is that human touch, because I see a lot of documentaries on YouTube. I'm like, God, this is going to be interesting. And as soon as he starts talking, I'm like, oh, I'm out. Done.
Yeah.
Can't hear that. I don't even want to hear the mechanics.
Well, in being in the voice industry, you have a keen ear. It's like, to me, it's got to be, like I think of Attenborough. Like, he just,
Oh my God.
I mean, I will watch him. Morgan Freeman's done some stuff, some voiceover stuff too. They just have that. There's
Right.
just something, that tone. Like, not everyone can do it. Not, you know what I mean? And like, there's a lot of people that want to try.
That is so.
Go ahead.
When I was a teenager, probably 19, I don't even remember what year. So it was a few years before it came out, but my agent had sent me and Bill Farmer, who is, for most adults, he has been the voice of Goofy for all their entire life.
Oh yeah,
great
he's great
voice actor. And it probably will go on his headstone. Bill's a great guy. And so we got a call to a group of us in the voiceover world. At that time, even though he did Goofy and I did other stuff for Disney, like the White Rabbit and on and on and on, the monorail and all that, we were, for the large part, we're not celebrities at all.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a call to go over to Disney to read for some character spots. So I went in. The character I was reading for was called Mufasa. And I was all excited. I don't even know what the heck this is about. So I got the script. And when I get over the other scripts and seeing who else is going to show up, the script for my character, the guy was James Earl Jones.
Right.
I'm like, I'm out of here. I mean, how in the hell do I compete with
Darth Vader,
a Broadway actor, Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Right. So, but it was, we knew we weren't going to get the parts. I mean, the guy was up for, I think Bill at the time was reading for, of course, what they end up hiring. I'm trying to remember who got the part. The guy that played in Benson.
Robert Guillaume.
Robert Guillaume. Yeah. So anyway, we knew we weren't going to get the part. We might get background, what they call walla in the business. Those are just miscellaneous background voices. We'd probably get that. But we enjoyed the process. Disney treats actors like nobody else, so we were there. And while we got a wonderful opportunity to sit down with Mr. Jones. And I think at the time he was kind of apprehensive about admitting that he was voiced Darth Vader, but everybody knew it. But he just didn't, I don't think he thought that it was that cool or that great. And, we kept telling him how everyone my age in Gen X, the reason we're in show business is because of Star Wars. There's no doubt. Almost every producer I work with every day, they owe some kind of spontaneity or some kind of interest in the craft from Lucas. And long story short, so James told us that he hasn't always had a great voice, that he had a speech impediment. He would stutter. And it was because as a young boy, he took voice lessons from a teacher, and she taught him to slow down. And as he got older, slowing it down also deepened his voice.
Oh.
So that's how, when he spoke normally, you didn't hear the James Earl Jones, but he would stutter and it was a little higher. But then when he slowed it down, it became James Earl Jones. And so he read we had a Disney NDA. We had him read that to us as James Earl Jones. And
really?
I could sit there all day just listening and quote that. It was incredible.
So one of my idols in the voice community is Jim Cummings. I love his Tuned In podcast. Have you been on that podcast yet?
I have not. Yeah, we've talked about it. I met Jim the very first time I met him. He was fairly young, and he's a little bit older than me, but we were both young. And we had just started the Gummy Bears, The Adventures of the Gummy Bears, which is it's actually NBC. They had leased the name Disney from Disney, but it was actually an NBC production, not Disney. Had nothing to do with Disney at all. And he was on it, and I did miscellaneous voices, and I would spot other VOs like Corey Burton or some of the other guys on the cast. If they didn't show up, it was early on in my voiceover career, so I would, any chance I got to, dub the lines of Toady or Gruffy or whoever, I would. And that's when I met Jim. He had a mullet from hell back then, and just wonderfully said. got the Winnie the Pooh, and my origin story is the only reason I ever got started in Hollywood was my grandfather was good friends with the actor Sterling Holloway, the original voice of Winnie the Pooh.
Oh wow.
So Jim and I had that in common, and you know, it just he was so great at doing that character. And my voice, I probably was 15, so it wasn't old enough or mature enough to pull that voice,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of my favorite all-time voices. It's an extremely difficult voice to do. There's people that do it well, or people that just do it horribly.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so yeah, I met him and Corey Burton and Tress MacNeille, and there was a lot of us. Older actor named Ry Billsbury. What a name! He was an actor in old radio. I think he played one of the Dukes. And then I'd worked with Peter Cullen years ago before
Oh,
that
my God,
on the
I love Peter
Transformers as
Yeah.
a young guy. So I was reunited with Peter Cullen. He was on Gummy Bears. And then, of course, my mentor, I mean, she taught me so much about voice acting, was June Foray. She was probably the nicest woman I've ever known in my life. Just a
Hmm.
wonderful person.
What a treat. Like you've walked the hall of fame of voice actors
It's
in 20 minutes.
It's literally all of my childhood memories.
Yes.
Everything you
What?
bring up. Yes.
Oh yeah.
God, I'm old.
You're not that old.
That is funny.
You
Yeah.
were 6 in
If I
77.
died tonight, I've had a wonderful life.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
54, and if I pass, I couldn't have asked for a more kinder, wonderful life, because it's, you know, the saying that it isn't work if you enjoy doing it. That is, I've been doing that since I was 6 years. I can't do anything. I have no skill. I can't repair
Yeah.
a car. I can't build a house. I can't run a cash register.
Yeah.
So if I can't talk, then I would never have made a living. And fortunately, that you know, I have benefited from it. There's so many of my friends that are in Los Angeles that are way more talented than I am, but that are unemployed because it's a hard business. You know, it's everybody and their dog wants to become the next Prince or
Yep.
whatever of Disney. And, you know, I'm making up the numbers, but theoretically, we get these reports from from our SAG-AFTRA, which is our union, but it says, again, I'm making this up, it's something horrible. It's like, you know, less than 20% of all of its members, SAG and AFTRA, make more than $25,000 per year. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult. So the joke in Los Angeles is someone says, "Hey, oh, I'm an actor," and you go, "Oh, really? Where do you wait tables at?"
Right. Exactly.
You know, because that's one of the few jobs that'll afford you to go do your audition, come back and pick up, you know, some tables, and you know, make enough to pay rent, and you know, hopefully you'll get a sitcom or you know, a voiceover that'll carry you over. And that's the other thing. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, voiceover was, you know, I remember going into, you know, B&B Studios in Burbank, and in that room, the men and women that were in that room, probably, I'm making this number up, but probably they did 80% of every English spoken voiceover you heard. Those men and women they were probably the majority of the ones that did it.
Wow.
And there was only probably 15 of them.
Wow.
And today, especially with 2020 and COVID, anyone with a USB microphone and a laptop thinks that they can do voice work.
Yeah.
And it isn't. Acting is very tough. And now voiceover has become a very much desired. A lot of even on-camera actors want to do voice work because, hell, it's a lot easier as far as I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to go to a set in Montana. I don't have to sit on the set for 15 hours, get makeup and wardrobe and blah, 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 and wade to a river. And
Yeah.
no, I just go in, turn on my microphone and record and send it. Even the auditioning, you know, back in the days in Los Angeles here, where I am currently, you could get as much money as you could by how fast you could drive around LA, do auditions and doing session work. So you might only be able to do three things in one day. Sitting in my studio, I'll do like maybe 25 auditions that day, and I might have like 15 recording sessions.
Wow.
More like probably 6. But so the technology has really helped us. I've got clients all over the world. Like for Jaguar, I'm the voice of Jaguar in Europe, and here in the United States they have someone from Europe that is the voice of Jaguar in the United States because it's more exotic.
That's funny.
So
I mean,
it
it
is a
makes
weird
sense.
business. I mean,
yeah.
right. It is true. Yeah, it's and there's nothing like going to an audition, and this happened. Oh, I don't know, about 10 years ago here in Los Angeles. I went in to do a thing, and I'm saying, what are we looking for? What are you guys wanting? And they said we're looking for a Connor Quinn type. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't get the gig. There was someone that does a better Connor Quinn than I do, apparently.
Wow.
And so it's humbling. That's the other thing, is this business is brutal. I mean, you'll be told one day that you're horrible and get another job, and then others that people are just wonderful to work with. They're inspiring. And as I get older, it's great to see that the younger generations are now becoming the directors and producers, and their awe and respect for all things voiceover. We're such a unique version of nerds. It's like I'm not a celebrity by any stretch of the imagination, but if I go to Disneyland, there are people that know who I am. It's just bizarre. They know what rides my voice is on more than I do.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing how people are hyper focused on what they love, and I think that's what makes life great. Is everyone has something that they collect, Pokemon cards or stamps or whatever.
I'm a big fan of audiobooks, and what I've found over time is there are certain people that you just want to hear more from, and other people where you could love the story, but as soon as they start talking, you're like, no, I'm going to have to read this because it doesn't work for me.
Right.
So it's interesting hearing your perspective on the voice being as prominent as it is. So I have a question.
Yeah. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say,
No, I was just going to say, I think that, I'm obsessed with voiceovers, and I have been since I was a kid. Not at 6. I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, but quickly, as I moved on, I was doing on camera work. At that time, Michael Landon, his crew, his team hired me. So I was on Little House on the Prairie for probably about 8 years
wow.
maybe.
Are you kidding me?
I also picked up at that. No, yeah, I picked up that. And then at that same time, I was one of the few live child actors on Sesame Street. So I was on there for 10 years. And we would film for Little House on the Prairie or The Love Boat and all those things. We would film. And then the other 6 months of the year, I had to live in New York because Sesame Street, we shot episodes because it airs every day of the week, 5 episodes a day, or 5 episodes a week. And it's, strung together with editing and that stuff, but it's a lot of shooting. So I would live 6 months of the year in Manhattan, then 6 months of the year in LA. So I didn't have a regular childhood. It's like things were just crazy all the time about, if you weren't one place, you were having to be carted off somewhere else. And the more that I, especially when I worked with Jim Henson and Frank Oz and these guys, yeah, I mean, they didn't think anything about that. They thought that they did horrible voices. It was the puppetry that was magnificent, especially Frank. Frank comes from a family of puppeteers. Jim did not care about puppets. In fact, when he was done with Ernie Larry, he would just throw it on the floor, and it would, just upset us kids. So he learned that apparently these mean something to the children. So I had to lay them down or hand them to someone because, I asked him as I was, like probably 20 or so. I asked Jim, why puppets? If you don't really like puppets, why? And he said, that was the only way I could get on television. Me and my wife, we tried everything. The only thing I could do was, he said, my goal was to drive in my college graduation in a Rolls Royce. He goes, that was my only goal.
Right.
And I couldn't get there I couldn't even get on television unless I was doing puppets. And he said, so it just stuck. But his real gift was directing and producing and writing, like The Dark Crystal or Labyrinth, something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
You know, Frank.
What was your question? I stepped on you.
Sorry. I was about to fanboy. Go ahead, Harley. Ask.
I was just going to ask what the most significant lesson you took away from watching people like Jim Henson, you know, these creative legends. What lessons did you take away from them? I mean, watching Galileo.
So,
Go ahead.
well, I mean, it's on that level. I mean, isn't it? I mean, when I was working with him, I had no idea that they were legends. They didn't know they were legends. So, unfortunately, when Jim passed, there was a handful of us that could do his voice. I mean, that they knew about, and he was in the middle of shooting, I think, Sesame Street, and I was called by my agent to fly to Queens, New York, which at the studios, the Astoria Street Studios, where we shot Sesame Street. At that time, I don't know, I think I'm 20, I think somewhere around there, 21. I was not wanting to do children's programming. I wanted to do other stuff. And my agent called me, unfortunately, that, you know, Jim had passed away and that they needed to finish out the Sesame Street season. So I flew there, you know, sad that Jim had passed, you know, went to his funeral, and, you know, it was just devastating. But on the other hand, I did not want to do more children's programming. And so I was such an idiot. I wasn't in the best of moods when I went to Astoria Street that day, and I asked the reception, you know, where's the voice? You know, I'm here to record sessions. And she said, go through the studio and take a left. Okay. So I went through that room, and it was completely dark. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Well, you know, let me try to see where and as I moved, the breakers would kick on and turn on the studio lights. And to the right of me was the original Main Street of Sesame Street, the brownstone walk up with that staircase. That staircase, that is the original staircase from 1969. They've replaced other stuff, but that staircase they've always maintained is it's original. That and Oscar's trash can. And something hit me. I mean, I fell to my knees crying, like, how stupid am I? I'm so privileged to be asked to do this, and that I had any time to share the room with Jim or Frank, and that I wouldn't be nothing without those men. They helped me when I was a child, and they were so sweet to us and took care of us. And I just remember Jim's always, I would not be surprised. You know, I'm not necessarily a religious person, but let's say when it's all over, if I were to be told that, you know, this whole time that Jim Henson was Jesus Christ or whoever, I wouldn't doubt it, because he was, not that he was perfect, but he was always up in spirit. He always backed you. There was never a bad day. It's like, even if he didn't like what happened, he would say, well, that was good. Yeah. You know, we had fun. Let's do it again tomorrow. You know, just this very lighthearted, I believe in you, and you didn't do anything wrong. And so that's my takeaway, is that you have to keep that child in you alive, you know, to continue, especially in this career. I do a lot of young guys' voices. Like I just recently did Elroy Jetson, if you guys are old enough to remember.
Oh, I remember the Jetsons.
The Jetsons.
Yeah.
Gosh, G-Pop, I wonder if Astro can come play.
You know, to channel that, you have to have that energy of that childhood wonder. And I think Jim was able to do that. He was able to hold on to that childhood wonder to bring stuff like Kermit and Ernie and the rest of the miscast, you know, to life by doing that. So I think that's my takeaway, is that life is good. And Jim's philosophy is that you leave life better than you found it.
That's awesome. So I guess to kind of shift gears a little bit on you, coming a little bit more local to Oklahoma. For a lot of Oklahomans, you are the voice of Braum's. How did you land that role? And what is it like to be the voice of a brand that is so deeply woven into our state's culture?
Yeah, it's almost mythical. I mean, Braum's, the sign, the shakes, it's a whole lineage for Oklahoma. And I'm not the only voice. There's a group of us that are that are called upon to do Braum's commercials over the years, and
Yeah.
and one of the great instrumental guys to get me in here was Randy Kemp, who owns a studio, and he's also a voiceover talent here in the city. Me and him have worked for many years. The first step towards doing Brahms, I was in Los Angeles, and my agent came to me and said, "Hey, there's a guy in Oklahoma that owns a hamburger stand, and he wants you to be his voice." And I'm like, "A hamburger? I didn't even know what is a hamburger stand. Is that like a lemonade stand? Like, seriously?" And I said, "Well, have him send a script. I'll audition." She, "Oh, no, he wants you to fly there." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not flying to Oklahoma. Forget it." And she's like, "Well, he's buying. He'll fly you." And I'm like, "Well, I'll see my parents, and yeah, I'll fly."
Sure.
So Bill Braum had brought me out. He picked me up at Will Rogers, and I swear to God, it was like he had no tailgate on this old beat up pickup from the 70s. It was like barbed wire or something. It was like a farm truck. Like, seriously? I mean, it was like that episode, that part of that scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when
Oh yeah.
Steve Martin and John Candy get picked up outside that motel by the guy. He wasn't that bad at all, but his pickup was like amazing. And I was still under the idea that, okay, he has one place. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I can see my parents. We're probably going to go eat at somewhere like Cattleman's or somewhere. No, we ate at Tulsa, or we ate at Braum's at Tulsa and 39th Expressway.
Yeah.
And so we got through with our little tray. Okay, the burger, the malt, the fries, and we sit down. And I said, do you own this place?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I do." And I said, "Well, how come you don't get our food for free? I mean, you own it." And he's like, "Oh, because the young woman behind the counter, she has no idea who I am and doesn't care, and I want it that way. What's the difference between me collecting quarterly the store's share, my share, or getting a free burger?" He said, "I'd rather do it like that. I pay. She has no idea who I am, but then I can make sure my restrooms are clean and my tables are clean and my guests are being treated right." And it was at that time I realized this guy's the real. I mean, he's better than McDonald's.
Yeah.
He's in like 5 states at the time, which I didn't know, and everything, the lettuce, the onion, everything on your burger is grown here. It comes from our farm. We're not McDonald's. We don't use third party whatever. Everything's fresh, and it opened my eyes. Like, this guy is so top notch proud of his product, and it shows, and it tastes that way. And I was privileged to and I still am, to continue to do Brahms. In fact, earlier this year I had done some Brahms spots, and it's always a privilege. In fact, it's funny in Los Angeles because you could say, "Oh yeah, well, I've got a date with Julia Roberts tomorrow night. I'm going out with Robert De Niro or whatever." Nobody cares. That doesn't impress them. They don't give a crap. But if you say something common like, "What do you do for a living?" "Oh, I'm a plumber." "Oh God, real? Are you serious? Well, I want you to come to our parties." To them, that's exciting because everyone's an actor. Everyone knows everything. They know everybody. So I was recording a few episodes of kind of the backtrack here. So one of my best friends was Phil Hartman, an actor, voiceover, and he also did Saturday Night Live and other things. So we both come from Groundlings, and we had the same agent, which she's still my agent, Joni Venari. Anyway, when he was in New York doing Saturday Night Live and stuff like that, they might have pickups that they would need from his Troy McClure characters from The Simpsons. Well, in those days, we didn't really have the technology, and he didn't have the time to fly. So I would go in to the Fox Studios and do his pickup lines as, doing the Troy McClure voice. And he and I were fast friends, so that's just the way it was. If he had stuff that needed pick up on the West Coast, I would do it, and if he could handle it on the East Coast, he would do it. And so after he was murdered, I thought, Matt Groening, even the creator, we thought that, I would just take over the role and start doing Troy McClure and all those characters. But Matt had a way of just looking at it and thinking, it's probably best to retire those characters in his memory, which is the best of all worlds right there. Anyway, so I had that relationship with him. So I was doing a few episodes of The Simpsons, and Kristen Chenoweth was the guest on one of the episodes. And when she came in, I don't even know what award she's won everything but the Nobel Peace Prize. I think
Right.
she's had
Yeah.
a million accolades. She's wonderful, right? I'm just a voiceover. She comes in, and our engineer, excuse me, our engineer says, "Hey, Kristen, you're from Oklahoma. Connor's from Oklahoma." And I said, "No, my parents are from," and she goes, "You're from Oklahoma? Whereabouts are you from?" And I said, I'm not. My parents are. I was born in New Mexico. And he goes, "Yeah, and he's the voice of a hamburger company out there." And "You are? What hamburger company in Oklahoma?" And I said, "It's, I didn't know she was from," I said, it's small, very small. It's called Braum's. And you would have thought that I said something amazing. She had tears in her eyes. She goes, "Braum's?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "I used to eat one in Godibo, Oklahoma. Braum's meat so I grew up with you." And I'm thinking, you're older than me. You could not have grown up. What are you? But that shows not only Oklahoma has these, so many people that are talented owe their roots to Oklahoma in some way. It's amazing. There's something here in the water.
Yeah.
And you could meet an Oklahoman in New York City, Paris, and then you're bonded because you're Oklahoman. So by me, I could have told her anything, that I won an Academy Award with Julia Roberts. She wouldn't have cared. But because I've done commercials for the Oklahoma State Fair and for Braum's, it brought emotion to her. And that just shows that what a real person. All the years on Broadway and movies, but it's her heartstrings in Oklahoma that is the real her. So yeah, I don't know if I totally got off topic, I think, with what you're talking about. But
well, when Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman, of course, she's from Oklahoma. Anytime they come back, it used to be charcoal oven, but she has to come back and get a Braum's burger. So yeah,
oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, she's another one that loves Braum's. And the thing about it is, because of what we do talk about Braum's a lot, and the Braum's isn't a lot of things aren't what we remember them as. But I think for most people, it's not quality. It's quality time. It's that nostalgia. It's the memories. It's the thing that ties us to Oklahoma or ties us together. So it makes sense.
It completely is. Like, I don't eat McDonald's. I might eat their breakfast. I kind of like their breakfast, but I don't normally eat McDonald's. Occasionally I will. But that, to me, McDonald's is representative of my childhood, both professionally and privately. So I was in thousands of McDonald's and McDonaldland commercials in the 70s and 80s. Ronald McDonald, we were in millions of scenes, me and other kids, with the talking hamburgers and the Hamburglar and Grimace. And, we shot all those on, I think at the ABC, what used to be the ABC studios in LA. But anyway, it was just a lot of hours of television that I worked. And so that means something to me. And it isn't the quality, it's the memories and nostalgia. And so one of my commercials I acted in, I must have been like 10 years old, maybe 9 years old, for McDonald's, and they still play it. And what it is they have these animated animals, and it's Christmas time at McDonald's, and you have all these little kids on ice, and there's one little boy with a red hat that can't skate. He keeps falling down.
I remember this. That's you?
Are you? No, you're serious. Don't placate me. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I'm 48.
What?
Listen.
All right. That just blows my mind.
No, listen, Connor.
So
let me say something. I got to say this. When Harley told me we've been talking about you for a while. He said, hey, by the way, we're going to have Connor Quinn on us. And the first thing I said was, is he related to Colin Quinn? But from the sound of your voice, probably
Everybody,
not. And I was like,
right?
and he's like, you need to check him out. So I went, like I said, I went to YouTube. I checked out your demo reel. And I was like, man, listen, I know it's a man in your position that's been doing this for so long. You have to understand that you are not only to you living the life that you couldn't ask for anything else. You're literally, there's someone out there right now that's going, man, I would give anything to do what he's doing. Dude, you have changed.
It is true.
It's not just a voice. It isn't, because listen, I'm 48. Harley, you're 52.
51.
51. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Me.
Yeah,
And
you're in my age range.
We're in
I
the
think-
age range. We grew up on on voices of TV. We grew up on Casey Kasem as Shaggy.
Meant something.
Right. You know what I mean? We when TV meant, you're right, when it was an event. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's true. It's like, and today's generations don't really know the power of that. I a few years ago, I was asked by the Leo Burnett agency. I had to stop. I had to pull over the side of the road. I got emotional. Now, this is going to sound stupid to your average listener. They're just going to say, "The hell is wrong with Connor?" I got a call that for 3 commercials, I would be the voice of the Poppin' Fresh Doughboy.
dude, that is so
to
cool.
me was right.
That's
I had
the
to pull
coolest
over
thing ever.
in LA, and I was emotional over Pillsbury. And I mean, the original voice was the legend Paul Frees, also the voice of the Haunted Mansion
Yes.
in Disneyland, and Toucan Sam for Fruit Loops. He did all these. Boris Badenoff, he was a legend in voice work, and he also was the Pillsbury Doughboy. So, yeah, you're right. It's easily forgotten on my day-to-day stuff of the hectic schedule and travel. I lose sight of where I've come from. But I do know we were shooting I think it was NCIS, and it was amazing. They had actually cleared out Times Square, and there was just me, another actress, and a guy playing a dead dude on the ground. And we're supposed to find out, how did this guy die? Obviously, he jumped from somewhere. And I just was amazed, because it's kind of like that, what they tell about that movie from Tom Cruise where they cleared Times Square, which never happens. I mean, how do you clear that big of an area of people? It's impossible, but they did. And I remember we were shooting the scene. When we took a break, I went over kind of like behind one of the buildings on one of the main streets there where they were holding traffic and holding people. So, I sit down, we're taking a break or whatever, and I'll never forget there was a guy on the other side of the yellow line, and he got my attention, and I went over and I said, well, what's up? And he's like, I just have a question. I'm like, what is it? And he's like, why are you on that side of the line and I had to stand over here? And I thought that was stupid. I'm like, well, because we're shooting a TV series, so that's why I'm over here. I'm an actor. But he was meaning it intrinsically. Why do you get to be there, and why not him? And when I saw the seriousness in his face, I mean, it was almost crying. Like he wanted that so bad he could taste it. And I related with that, and I said, look, my childhood and everything is not what you would think. I didn't have a normal childhood. I've never played in a park growing up, never been on a slide, I didn't do the things normal kids did because I had to work. I didn't have my first hamburger until I was probably 15, because even though we were in McDonald's commercials, we weren't allowed to eat normal stuff because of our weight, to make sure that we looked good for camera. I didn't have sweets, hardly ever. I did hundreds of Coke commercials with Bill Cosby and never once tasted it. I had no idea what it tastes. Now I'm addicted to it, but I had no idea what that tasted like, because being in the industry, and especially in the 70s, there was a lot of, probably not for the scope of this podcast, but there's a lot of negative, horrible, bad things that happened to us in the 70s and 80s. That's why we had handlers, what they called it, and they protected us for the most part from some of this. But I didn't have that first girlfriend, and I never went to a prom. I didn't have an actual high school. My school was the back of Little House on the Prairie. Between scenes, we would get chemistry class and stuff like that by this, as legislated by the state of California. Sometimes if we were shooting in New York, then I would get taught lessons. So I didn't really have a high school other than Hollywood High. You know, that's where my alma mater, so to speak. That's where I graduated from. But it's not like you know, it's not a normal childhood. And in retrospect, I would have traded all of that just to be a normal dude, because
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be like to be a normal person. So there's trade-offs, but at the end of the day, I love what I do, and I'm like you. By meeting people like you that grew up with me, it's just amazing that I somehow or another, you saw or heard some of my work. Probably about a year ago, one of my teachers and mentors, that is Karen Grassley. She played Ma Ingalls on Little House. She's still a great
Yep.
friend, and I visit with her a lot. She has family in Tulsa, so she came into town. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. Anyway, we went out to lunch, and she's, you know, I'm not a celebrity. She's a celebrity, but not A-list. So people would recognize her, but they don't know where the hell from. Maybe she was their teacher. They don't know, but they know that she looks familiar, type of thing. She's not like Julia Roberts, whatever. But we're sitting there eating, and this young girl, probably like 20 years old, come over and said, "Are you Mrs. Ingalls?" Karen said, "Well, I'm Karen Grassley. I played Mrs. Ingalls on Little House." And she said, "I just wanted you to know, I lost my mom when I was 6 years old. And when I would come home from school, you were the closest thing I ever had to a mom. And I wanted to thank you, you know, for being a part of my life." And I'm choking up now. It's like,
Yeah.
I was on the verge of tears
100%.
there. Karen started, you know, tears, and it's like, how devastating. That I just, and she said, "I don't want your autograph. I just wanted to say that to you and thank you for being there." And, you know, Karen was like, "Oh, you know, let's take a picture. I'll give you an autograph, whatever." That means a lot to me. And when the girl left, you know, Karen was saying, who would have thought that a silly little TV show in 1978 or whatever would impact a young girl in 2023 or
Yeah.
whatever? And I said, no. I mean, we're just out. We shot that an hour north of LA at Big Sky Ranch. There was no audience. I have yet to see one episode. It was just work. We just did the episodes and moved on to the next project. It was not something I thought about. I didn't think anybody was watching it.
They
And
have rebuilt. They've rebuilt the town there. Although I can't think of his name.
On Big Sky.
Yeah. And they're in the process of doing some tours and things like that. Yeah. I think there's some progress there. You may look into that, but I've been kind of following
Yeah, I have
loosely.
to do it.
Yeah. Here's the thing. That's the thing about Little House on the Prairie. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say real quickly, you know, for us children, you know, Melissa played younger, but she's a little bit older than me.
Mhm.
You know, there was one episode where she falls in love with my character, you know, puppy love. And, you know, Michael told me, you know, you don't like girls yet. You're at that age. Well, I'm gay. So it was, even at 8 years old, it's like something didn't feel right. I sure as hell didn't want to kiss her. So it was easy for me to play that. And Melissa and I talked about how are we going to do this with her and I being friends. And we got through it. But I just remember the difference between my life of just, I could go to the mall and blah, blah, blah. And very rarely would anyone recognize me. But poor Melissa and Melissa Sue Anderson, all those, they were highly recognized. And the Allison Ongram that played Nellie, she's like our mother.
Yeah.
She keeps us all in touch. We're all on text chat. We talk to each other. She makes sure, you got a cold? Oh my God, you need to do this. And she's just making sure that we're all together.
I love Nellie. I love
Allison,
Nellie.
completely opposite, right?
Yeah.
She's more mom than what Karen Grassley was. I mean, she's a sweetheart. And a couple of years ago, Allison said, you know, while some of us are still alive, let's meet up at Big Sky. So this maybe actually it was probably 8 years ago. Let's all fly out there, have a picnic, and you know, at that time none of the buildings were there. Michael had them all destroyed because he didn't want them misused. But we sat out there where basically the Mercantile was and all that stuff, and going back to the episode with me and Melissa where we fall in love, they didn't trust little Connor with a knife, but they trusted Melissa with a knife.
Wow.
And they were going to have her put our initials in a tree. She was so smart. She knew that camera would be 100 yards from us with a long scope zoom, that they wouldn't be able to read what she was actually carving. So she was saying, because we were bored, she's like, I'm going to put our real initials in the tree, MG plus CQ. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get in trouble. What are they going to do? Well, hell, they'll fire me, but her, they can't. She's the star of the show.
Yeah,
They're not going to fire her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she did. Well, Allison had us go out there, like I said, about 8 years ago, and me and Melissa went for a walk, and that I'm sorry, I can't cuss.
No, you can't.
That tree is still there with our initials, and
That's the coolest
we
thing.
sit there and cried like idiots. Like, yeah, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, I can't count my blessings enough. I've had a wonderful life. I came in at the right time of the industry. That someone says you ought to write a story or do an audiobook. It's like, I don't think anyone would be interested, because I wasn't Michael J. Fox, or I wasn't Jason Bateman. I was just a normal, like in the Life cereal commercials. I wasn't Mikey. I was one of the other kids. I'm the kid that you don't pay attention to.
But think about this for a second.
I did have a front row seat of that stuff.
Let me tell you this. I'm gonna from a fan perspective, because I grew up idolizing Frank Welker, Peter Cullen, Rob Paulson. Those, my heroes they don't wear capes. My heroes are the voices of those creatures, of those animals, the things that I emulated, So what you have to understand, what you bring is, it's the fact that I get to talk. I idolize you. I'm 48 years old.
Oh,
no, I'm serious. Like, would someone listen to a book that you narrated about yourself, or yes? The answer is yes, because at the end of the day, think about what you do. It takes kind of a weirdo, in a sense. You're kind of an outcast in a way, because while yes, you don't suit up for the job. You don't have to, sit how long did Jim Carrey sit in makeup for the Grinch? 12 hours, 18 hours, something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, what you bring is imagination. Like you said, it doesn't matter if it's steak, it's what's for dinner. It doesn't matter. If you're telling a story from a narrative that, it's like a dog whistle, Connor. Not everybody can hear it, but the ones that do, I'm literally on cloud 9 listening to you tell. From the stories you're telling, you sound like you're 110. Yeah, I was on Little House on the Prairie. Like, holy shit, that was ages ago. It was. I know. You've lived
it was forever ago.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You've lived a lifetime that most people. Listen, I've been chasing a dream. I was a dream to be in radio. I wanted to be on a microphone. My dream was to be in radio. When I was a kid, I sat at my great aunt's in her front yard, and I could see the radio towers and TV towers that were probably 5 miles away. To me, that was the Emerald City. How do I get to the top of the hill? Because at the time I was like, I wanted to be a voice actor before I knew what voice acting was. I wanted to be on a microphone before I realized exactly what it meant to do that. So when I finally made it to radio, and I'm standing in the parking lot, this is almost 40 years later. I'm standing in the parking lot where I've been looking my entire life, and I could look in the general direction of where I was when I was a kid, and the house is gone now, and it's just a flat piece of land with one fence post sticking out of it that I'm going to steal. But they don't know that. I had arrived. I mean, look at you. How often can you say in your storied career that how many people can say they worked with people that they idolized? It's very rare. In that sense, you're able to do something that very few people can do. I was able to do something that very few people can say, they work with their idols. Like, it's the coolest job on the planet. Dude, you have brought so much joy.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I can't say enough, man.
Man, I appreciate that. I mean, it's eye-opening. There's two instances. One, I really did cry, and it reminded me kind of like the impact of what I have on people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in my career. And basically it was, I'm trying to remember, I think it was in New York. Hold on real quick. My phone is acting up. Just a second. Okay. So anyway, I can't remember if it was a restaurant or what, but I'll never forget that not a little boy, but he was little at the time. He was, you know, probably 45 or whatever, but he was old enough to remember me when I was on Sesame Street, and someone had said my name or whatever, then he recognized, and he's like, oh God, I remember him. And a lot of, I was paired a lot with the Count, and I did a lot of scenes with Ernie, where Ernie would make me cookies or whatever and try to give them to me. And I, of course, was dying because I'd never had them. Jim Henson didn't know any of that. I was dying for them. And about the time Ernie was going to give them to me, Cookie Monster would pop up and eat the damn things. And it would really piss me off when the camera would slowly zoom in on my little mad face. And Jim thought that was so funny and so cute that they kept it. And they just, one time as a lemon pie, and then an apple pie, and then cookies and vanilla wafers. And let's just see how upset we can get Connor. It was hilarious. And anyway, this kid had come over to me, and he was wanting to know, seriously, I mean, this is an adult man in his 40s, and wanted to know if he could ask me a question. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And with all earnesty, as a full-fledged adult, he asked me, or said to me, on Sesame Street, in the theme song, you know the theme song, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course, who doesn't? Yeah, one of the later iterations, we sang. I was one of the children. They used our voices to sing that theme song that was played daily on Sesame Street. So of course I know it. And he said, well, remember you say something about, can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? And I'm like, yeah. And he says, I did so much I wanted to cry because I didn't know how to get to Sesame Street, how to get to where you guys were. And I had to stop. I'm like, dude is like 44 years old, and this is like therapy related stuff. I mean, something hurt him bad that he wanted to escape to get to us children and to Big Bird. He wanted to be there so bad.
Yeah.
And I took him literally. I said, well, we filmed at the Tape Studios off Broadway, and now we're at Astoria. I still work for Sesame Street, by the way. Today I still do voices and promos for them. And they're at Astoria Street Studios, Astoria Kaufman Studios. And he's like, no, I know New York, but in the time I wanted to know how to get there. And it was so aggravating. You guys kept tempting us, like, can you tell me how to get there? But you never told us. And I kind of got mad. And I'm like, I finally understood now probably what a lot of kids his age thought, that we kept having this wonderful place, but who the hell gets to go there? You must be damn lucky that you get to hang out with Susan and Gordon and Bob. And so there was that put me in my place. It reminded me of just where in nostalgia it puts me. I've had a front row seat to some pretty incredible things. Even my private collection. I was such an idiot. When I was a little boy, any commercial I was on, any show, I wanted something. So I would ask them on McDonald's commercials, can I have that chair? Can I have this? And, they didn't care. Half the time it'd be thrown away. So I have probably the world's biggest collection I do have Muppets. I have over 15 real Muppets.
God.
A Bert and Ernie that I filmed with in 1978. I've got tons of McDonaldland hamburger puppets that talk to us. I have a Grimace suit. I have one of the original. King Moody was the Ronald McDonald of your time and Harley time. King Moody was the actor that grew up with us, and he's in the commercial with me, the ice skating, where he takes me for a ride with all the other kids and lets me skate with him. That's King Moody. He was the original, the most iconic Ronald McDonald. On the other hand, the funny thing, and this was sent to me just a couple of weeks ago from my agent. Now, she's like my mom. She's been my agent since 1977, Joni Venari. I always tell people she's older than Methuselah, which I'm sure she likes. But she was cleaning out. She's getting ready for retirement. She was cleaning out some of her stuff. She had a letter, a fan letter. I don't think that she ever let me see. And it is in a child's handwriting, a little boy. And she sent it to me, and I'm reading it here. It says, it's stamped, received Wingate Hasbro, J. Venari, September 14th, 1981. The letter is written in pencil on notebook, school paper with ruled lines. And it says 97/81. So he couldn't even write the date properly. That's how young he was, probably. And it says, Dear Mr. Connor Quinn, please make him read this for real. I think your acting is the worst thing in the whole world, and whole is spelled Hole. It stinks bad. It's really bad. I mean it, exclamation point. You should take acting or something. Maybe that would help. I saw you on TV and couldn't believe how bad it was. If you want to write back, write, and then she's blurred out the address, Avenue, Granada Hills, zip 91345 PS. And if you feel, so write me back. And if you want to send an autograph, auto-graff. And then at the very bottom, it says, I'm number one, sincerely, Shane.
Oh, my. Shane, if you're listening.
That is my favorite
that's awesome.
fan letter.
Yeah, I'm nostalgic, too, for that kind of thing. In fact, my Waze, there for a little while, you had an option to set it up for Cookie Monster. So when you arrived at your destination, he goes, you have arrived at your destination. Nom, 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 nom. Or turn right. That was always fun. And especially when I was...
Very good impression, by the way.
I try. That's the thing. I've got a few. And thanks to, like guys like Frank Oz, I tell people, listen to Miss Piggy. If you listen to Miss Piggy, you can hear Yoda in there too. And it's really just a variation. It's nothing fancy. It's a variation of Frank Oz's. When you listen to his speaking voice, it's modulated. It's just a modulated. It's like Jim Henson. Kermit is a modulated version of Henson.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of talked kind of like this. So I think that, Connor, you did really good, and I don't see anything really bad. Okay, it's just this really. A while back, a bunch of us had lunch with Frank. This was in Manhattan, and he's mainly known now for directing and stuff like that. But a large part of us, there's like 3 or 4 of us that were with him on Sesame Street. So we were talking about some memories, and he just honestly has no idea how important he is. He can see how Jim is, but we couldn't impart to him how important Sesame Street was, how important Grover was, and Yoda. He just does not see that because he is a more technical guy. I just get in there, do my thing, and get out. I'm not the story. And I believe that, he said something for you as a voiceover, and I'll never forget that. He says, remember what I told you when you were young? And I said, what's that? And he said that if they pay attention to you, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
I said, I agree with that to a point, but there's a point where they know that it's Frank Oz, and that is the point. It is. There's a difference. I mean, I love the people that do it to this day that, that have taken up his roles. It needs to be done. But there's nothing like Frank Oz's Miss Piggy. There's nothing like Frank Oz's Yoda. It's not just the read, it's the comedy. And you'll see that in Emmett Otter's Christmas. You'll when I think he voices one of the characters in there. It's just the way he reads the lines, his humor. All of that is this is such a niche. When people ask what I do for a living, I usually just say I'm a small business owner, because if I say I'm an actor, what have I seen you in? Well, you're too young. You probably haven't seen me in anything. And if I say a voice actor, I do a lot of video games and cool stuff, anime and that sort of thing. But a bulk of what I do is really boring industrial. Like today, I did a voiceover on how to embalm someone for a funeral home.
That's cool.
Like, are you kidding? Right. It's like, that's what you'd have to do. And then, I also, I guess locally, you'll hear me in Homeland telling you, what aisle the green beans are on, and you can save with best choice, whatever. And but you still have to make that sound great, like Walgreens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hi, thanks for coming to Walgreens, the corner of happy and healthy. It's like you have to make it sound inviting. As corny as it is, and I love corny. I love corny jingles. I love corny commercials. My whole career has been corny, and I love it. You were right on one thing, definitely. You have to be a weirdo to do this for a living, and probably like what you say for radio. And all three of us are very lucky to do this. Not everybody can say they can do it.
Oh no.
Or enjoy it. They might do it for a week or two and say, "Well, I'm out."
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in my car, I don't have any music that plays. I listen to nothing but voices and commercials and cartoons all day long in my headphones when I'm going to sleep. When I wake up, I'm hearing them. I'm constantly learning new voices. I'm constantly finding out what the edge is, what sound they're looking for, because that's important to me to get cast. They still, when they need a Don Pardo, they will call me. There's only a few of us that do that type of style, but they will call me for it. But by and large, they're not looking for Don Pardo or Gary Owens or Adam West. They're looking for, Sonic, try now, blah, blah, blah. They're looking for the same voice. It sounds like,
Right.
Literally it's an AI. It sounds, 99-cent toss. Now it's Sonic. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's fun, but it's not why I signed up for voiceover. I signed up because one of my early teachers was a man by the name of Dawes Butler, who he was the Mel Blanc of Hanna-Barbera. He was Yogi Berra, Yogi Bear, not Berra, Yogi
Right.
Bear, Cap'n Crunch, Elroy Jetson, and he taught me a very important thing is that I kept telling him, can you teach me how to do voices? And he would get on to me. They're not voices; they're characters. Like
Mhm.
Yogi Bear, I know his favorite color. I know his favorite number. I can tell you what he has for lunch every day. It's not a voice. He has literally like, I forget what it was, like 30-page backstory he had written on Yogi Bear that only he knows. But it fills in that character. It makes it a real entity. So he brings that. Hey, it's not just a voice. It's an attitude. It's a whole 365 encompassing type of thing.
Jumping back for real quick to Frank Oz real fast, you can tell when Frank Oz was Yoda, and you can tell there was a little bit of an evolution there. Like early, the Star Wars when he's talking to Luke, it's very high pitched. It's more high pitched, and as it goes on, it kind of gets more I don't know what you would call it, a little bit lower register. I loved in The Last Jedi.
A little older.
Yeah, older. I loved in The Last Jedi that they got him to come back and do the puppet and do the voice. That's the only thing I cared about is listening to him. And I'll go back and watch him talk to Luke, giving him the tutelage of, telling him you're just Luke Skywalker. You're no one. And I've learned, and that's the thing.
Absolutely.
And what I was going to, and the thing I was trying to get to before I went on my passionate tirade is, he's not just, yes, I know him as Frank Oz, but I tell people all the time, I have learned more from a 900-year-old Jedi. There's so many things to be learned from Yoda. Like people go, oh, okay, he lives he lives in the swamp. He's a crusty old whatever. No, like you have to understand, I'm listening. I'm actively listening to what he has to say. And whether my credit's bad or not, Connor, I'm still listening to the Visa commercial.
Well, I am too. A story about Ed Grover, the voice of Visa. So I was obsessed. I was in love with his voice, and I could do it at a young age. And probably for another time, I'll explain to you why I had my own apartment in LA at 15, which should never have effing happened, but it did.
Oh boy!
But I had my own apartment that should not have happened, but that's another story. Ed and I had the same agent, Joni Venari, and Joni was a kid then, and she was like 22. I thought she was older than hell then. She's like, do the math. She was 22. She was the most incredibly wise person at 22. Like, most girls at 22 would not have acted the way she did, but she did. She was like a mom. But she didn't know much about the union rules and that sort of thing. She just knew money's good. And Ed Grover was a voiceover superstar in 1986. He was the first voice of Macintosh. He was the voice of Nissan, the voice of RCA, the voice of Visa. I mean, each of those, and in those days, a lot of money. It's a lot of money today, but there were so few people doing it. He probably made $250,000 on each one of those spots. That's just how rare and what a big talent he was. Now he played cops. He was on Quincy. He was on Rockford Files. He played these small roles, but his big income came from voiceover. And I was obsessed with his voice. I was constantly working on it, trying to get that Visa sound. And none of that was put on. It was his voice. And Joni saw that I could do this, and there's a lot of clients that wanted Ed Grover's voice, but they couldn't afford it. So she'd send my ass. And I have to remember, back in those days, there's no internet. So they had no idea what Ed Grover looked like. They didn't even know his name was Ed Grover. I would go into the sessions in LA and sign my name as Grover, do it for 1/10 of the price. So it was a little money for me, a little money for her, and it wasn't hurting anybody. Well, this was all fine until one particular night. In those days we had landlines, so my apartment line rang, and it was the unmistakable voice of Ed Grover on that line.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, yeah. I don't know, I was probably 18. And he said, is this Mr. Quinn? And I said, yeah. And he said, this is Ed Grover. And I said, I know. And he said, I'd like to take you to dinner. Like, you would? Yep. I'll have tonight fine Beverly Hilton 7:30. And yeah, I've never been to Beverly. I mean, that's like a 10-star hotel. Oh, are you kidding? Yeah. He said, well, good. I'll send my car by. They'll pick you up and bring you over. Okay. I'd never been in a limo. Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, this is Hollywood.
Wow.
Like a lamb to slaughter. The car picks up. The guy, I tried to sit in the front. He's like, no, you back here. Okay. He took me to the restaurant, and then the guy walked in with me. It's like The Godfather. And there had been rumors that Ed Grover was mafia, and that scared the hell out of me. But at the same time, it's kind of exciting. There's a man behind him, and then this guy that brought me in, pulled the chair out. I got in, he pushed me in, put my napkin on me, just like, what is going, it's like a movie.
Yeah.
And so I met Ed, and he had one of his business associates there, and we had salad and da-da-da. We're just like talking. He's very nice. And he said, you know what's interesting, Connor? And I was like, what's that? And he goes, so today I was on the Pacific Coast Highway. I was on the PCH in my car, and I heard myself on the radio for the Southern California Dodge Dealers Association. I'm like, oh yeah, well that's cool. I had done it.
Yeah, you thought you were
but
going
I
to
didn't
get
want to say
whacked.
anything. I was like, oh, right. And I was starting to see this. I was starting to pee myself a little bit at this point. And I said, well, that's a good thing. And he goes, well, Connor, it's not a good thing. You see, I'm the voice of Nissan. I'm like, yeah. Well, it's a conflict of interest if I'm also doing Southern California Toyota Dealers Association. And he said, he knew damn well. He's like, Connor, are you married? No. Well, I am. And you see, Mrs. Douglas, she loves all the stuff, Mrs. Grover, she loves all the stuff that I give her and blah, blah, blah. And if I lose that job, then Mrs. Grover is going to be unhappy. And if Mrs. Grover ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Right.
Do you know that? And I'm like, no, I've never heard that. And he goes, well, it's true. That's the definition of marriage. And I could slowly feel sweat going into my ass crack. I mean, it was just like, this is horrible. I don't know where this is going, but it's not good. And it slowly shifted. And he's like, you wouldn't know anything about that voice, would you? And I'm like, I mean, I just lost it. I thought he was going to kill me. And I threw Joni under the bus. She made me do it. I've been doing all these. I admitted to every one of them. He just sat there and let me go on, diarrhea of the mouth. And at the very end, he's like, they say imitation is the highest form of flattery. And you do my voice pretty good. And But here's the thing. Um, it's very important to me about what my voice appears on. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. And he said, are you Christian, Connor? And I'm like, yeah. And he says, so if Jesus Christ called you at your apartment, because I know you have a phone, and he tells you to do XYZ commercial tomorrow, what are you going to say to him? And I'm like, I don't. He says the answer is no. I need to check with Mr. Grover first. I'm like, okay, yeah, I need to check with Mr. Grover first. And I was so scared. And he said, we'll make a deal. So you leave the big potatoes to me, and I'll leave the small ones for you. And I'm like, okay. And he says, and then that way everyone's happy. But no matter what Joni asks you to do, you're going to call me first. You understand? Yes, sir. And that was the end of the meal. 2 weeks later, him and his wife had me over to their house and invited my parents. They were the sweetest couple. He's an actor. He's not mafia. It was just a ruse to put the fear of God in me, but also to make a point that you don't just do that. And so I would go over and hang out with him and his wife. And he was one of the few actors at that time with a studio in his home. And he would teach me microphone technique. I mean, the old school stuff about how to address a microphone, like how do you walk up to a microphone if there's an audience, basic stuff like that, that to them, that generation is important, and in that time in voiceover is not important. They don't care about all that, but from the radio performers, it was important.
Right.
So anyway, I learned a lot of acting and I learned a lot of stuff. And when he was going to retire from Visa, he told them, there's this kid that does my voice great. Nobody will know. And someone in Des Moines, Iowa doesn't give a shit anyway who it is. But this kid's a hell of a lot cheaper than I am. So you'll let him take over. Nobody will know it's not Ed Grover.
Wow.
And believe it or not, Visa did that. So for about 12 years, I was the voice of Visa after Ed Grover retired. And that was my career on a silver platter. That's what put me on the map, because then I could say, also known as the voice of Visa, you can hear me on the voice as the voice of Visa, whatever. If Ed hadn't done that, I was kind of a made man as far as an actor goes, but he was such a sweetheart. Him and his wife are very, very kind people. So there's just so many instances of, as tough as Hollywood is, there's so many wonderful people in it. To survive, you have to have people around you that are wonderful people. And with people like him, and then even kinder, like Frank Oz or Jim Henson, those truly legends, that made my growing up in the business exceptionally wonderful. And it's weird, most people don't hit their career until their career age. Whereas, I'm 54. I've been doing acting for 48 years. Hell, I should have retired years ago. But I don't. I think I'll fall over dead behind the mic because I enjoy it. It's not work at all.
Well, Connor, we're keeping you a little long, and I apologize for that. But I did have a question.
No, I enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
we are too. We've been running this whole time. But I wanted to know what inspired you to build your new business, helping voice actors and creatives succeed. Was there a specific gap in the industry that you saw a need for?
Yeah, the system is filled with, acting in general is just filled with people that have bad intentions. They're wanting to make money. So I think they'll tell anyone anything they need to hear, that if you give me X amount of dollars, then I'll make you a star. That's not how it works. Like, people will send me their demo saying, can you get me work? Or if you turn something down, that's not how acting works. I wish I had that power. But there's other people that make those choices. And it all starts with acting. So a lot of these coaches will say, you sound wonderful. They'll compliment them and make it sound easy. It's a hard work. You have to learn acting skills from the very basic all the way up. And it's not a matter of how you sound, but how you use your voice in telling the story. And how do we find out who our audience is? What do we find out that is important in the copy? How not to sound like you're selling, but how do I sound like a dude you're hanging with at Starbucks or a bar and we're shooting the shit? That's important. And I think there's just so many people out there that are trying to get money from younger people of all ages, and they'll just tell them what they need to hear. So it was important to me that if someone is very serious to this craft, that they know that it's not an overnight success, just doing voiceover does not going to mean you're going to make $1, much less $1 million or whatever they think is going to happen. It's a slow process, and so I have like two areas because it is show business. So there's one thing about learning acting and applying it. Again, I have tons of actor friends that don't have all that much business because it is a tough business, and it's like a lotto. You have to have a lot of luck.
Yeah.
But once you get that lucky break, you have to make the most of it, and you need all those tools at your disposal of how do I pull out of my tool belt, my acting tool belt, to sell this story. And then the aftercare basically is that, okay, you have the business, now what? Well, you have to know how to keep filling that funnel, just like sales. Where do I go to find people that are looking for people like me? Where do I find people that are hiring voiceovers? How do I negotiate a contract? What is an NDA? Do I have to travel? How do I build a studio? All those things that, people come up with. I enjoy helping them because it used to be I just had to show up to a studio and record, and then I would go to the next studio, and no brains required. Nowadays, I I have to. I don't know anything about tech, but I damn sure know how to I need to know how to make sure that my laptop or my tower is up and running, and what happens if I get this screen or a blue screen, or what if this monitor goes out, or my microphone USB fails, or not USB. I don't use that. XLR fails. You have to know a lot of stuff, and it's like I think a lot of people that approach me about voice acting, they don't know what they don't know. Like I told a guy, what is your dream? And he's like, oh, I want to be the next like Aladdin or Prince Charming. And I'm like, literally, you have a higher chance of being struck by lightning 3 times in a row, because if you're going into the business for that, it's impossible. You can't do that. You can't go into it saying, I want to be the next Tom Cruise. You need to start small and say, I just want to enjoy myself, even if it's a side income, because this time in our lives, I mean, guys younger than us 3 know that this is basically, it's whatever job you can get. You have multiple jobs, many irons in the fire. That's how you survive. Same with acting. You have to be able to do documentaries. I have to do video games. I have to do training films on how to embalm someone. You have to do a lot. You can't just say, I'm going to be the Pillsbury Doughboy, or I am going to be the next Prince Aladdin. You can't do all that. You have to know your limits and know where you need to grow. So I think that's why I started growing, is to help people grow. That's why I started the business of learning the craft of voiceover. That it doesn't have to be success right away. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. It can be something that's moderate and then picks up, hopefully, the more you work at it, because it is almost a full-time job. It's hard to have a normal job. A lot of those auditions are due in the morning. I mean, as soon as you get them, you need to get them out. How do you get auditions? You have to get an agent. How do you get an agent? You have to be a working actor. How do you have to be a working actor? Well, you have to have an agent. So there's all these catch-22s that people don't know how to navigate to. But the long story, you don't even need an agent. The business is slowly going away from that model to where a lot of people are just working for themselves. I do a lot of non-union work. For example, Braum's, that's non-union. Then I have other stuff that I do for like Disney and NBC and whoever else I do. I also do Audi. Those are all network jobs, or not network. Those are all union jobs. But I'm in the industry of what's called FICOR, which means I can do both. So all those terms and stuff, I think a lot of young people or even older people don't know what that means. It's like you've got to learn that stuff to know how to navigate the waters. So I'm not a teacher. I'm not certified in anything, but it's just I know what I've learned and how that applies to, not only to get work, but to keep it. It's one thing to get a job, but how do you get more work from them? What kind of a relationship do you have to develop to constantly having them come to you and say, hey, Connor, would you mind? We've got another spot for you to do. Would you do that? Yep, I would absolutely. Follow up leads, how to create leads, how to just continue that relationship. All that is important.
So, Connor, if you had to boil it down, over 40 years in the industry, and obviously it's an ever-changing industry, and it feels like right now we're fighting off robots. But if you had to give with a single most important piece of advice you could give somebody that's even considering getting into voice acting or acting or just life in general, what would you say?
I would say that probably the most important thing is to be yourself. There's only one voice. It is so tried to hear this. You've heard it a million times, but it's absolutely true. There's only one Casey Kasem. There's one Vincent Price.
Mm-hmm.
There's one Kristen Chenoweth. So even though my voices are utilitarian in that they do hire me to be Vincent Price or do hire me to be Casey Kasem, that was a time when I needed that to survive. They didn't want Connor Quinn. They wanted Connor Quinn's version of Morgan Freeman. They wanted Ed Grover. Today it's different. They do want who you are. And you and I and Harley, we all grew up in that era where we thought that they wanted perfection, which they did. You had to sound audio broadcast quality ready.
Yeah.
They don't want that now. You're not going to get an audition with a perfect audition. They don't want that. That's a turnoff. They want you to sound natural, stumbling over yourself like a normal person. And so I think the most important is to be yourself, be natural. And that's how you're going to get away from AI. Is AI will never be human. It took a human to invent AI, and it'll come close, but there's just something that's not there, that spirit, whatever it is missing, that you just know that you're alone. You're not listening to another human being. You're listening to something false. So being yourself and being human and being here now, no matter what you do, whether it's acting or a plumber or whatever, that I think is the key in any relationship, is to be there right then, not somewhere else.
Well, Connor, that says
That's deep.
That's golly, that's a lot deep. We're not used to that. We're used to the deep dish pizza. That's usually that's some of what we talk about, Connor. God, I don't know. We need to book Connor on here more often, just to kind of level us out and bring us back down to to earth.
Oh my goodness, you guys would do that for me. Yeah, that's what I love. I'm not an Oklahoman, but by listening to you guys, it's like my parents, and I'm Oklahoma proud. I wish that I was born in Oklahoma because I feel that way. I live here I'm in LA, but I live in Oklahoma all the time. I've just come out to LA to work, but I tell everyone in LA that the life in Oklahoma is horrible. It's expensive. I lie to them because I don't want them to move out and take away from what we have here. We don't want the Californians coming in.
Well,
we want to keep it the way it is.
And I think most people that listen when they think Oklahoma podcast, they think it's a couple of the cowboys talking cowboy stuff right here. You know what I mean? Like it just.
Well, I got to tell you one thing. I was the voice of Dodge. I was, they want that type of thing. I was with the PB. No, I wasn't. Yeah, no. I was PBR, and Sam Elliott's a piece of crap. I'll tell you that much for shit.
Right.
No, I mean,
how much fun. This has been so much fun, Connor.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, it's just, I feel like I've totally took in you directions that you didn't want to go.
No, dude.
Hey,
seriously.
Me and Jason Bateman grew up at the same time. We were actors doing cattle calls, which is a type of an audition where there's just a multitude of actors showing up.
Wasn't he on Little House? Didn't he do a spot or two on Little House?
He was on Little House with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were in each other's shadows all the time. I was always on shows he was on, blah, blah, likewise. And that little shit got more work than I did because, he's a great looking kid and good acting. And, but there's a game that when Jason is on talk shows, and so I do the same thing because we're, and he's had a huge career, much larger than me, but still the age-wise. So someone will just mention some actor's name from that era, and I'll tell you my run-in with them or what I know of them, and it's funny. I don't think it's that big because Hollywood's small, but the person listening to it thinks that it's absolutely, mind. Like, for example, someone asked me recently about Charlie Chaplin, and I said, well, I have a run-in with Charlie Chaplin. They're like, what? And I'm like, well, not directly, but so I was 9 years old. Reese's peanut butter cups were not that big. They were kind of relatively new when commercials, and the commercials were basically like, this guy is running down the hall with peanut butter and this girl is running with chocolate, and they hit each other and then they mix, and oh my God, it's Reese's peanut butter cups. And that was kind of the way the commercials were done. And they had hired me. They were going to make a Halloween version of Reese's peanut butter cups. And we were shooting at the Paramount Studios on where they used to shoot the Brady Bunch. It was the same soundstage. And my dad had taken me to the session, or to the taping. And I'm 9 years old, thinking I am like the God's gift to actors, which is insane. Like, what am I thinking? But I'm learning my lines. I'm trying to find my marks on the ground. Where do I need to go? And so one of the guy that was the main guy of the commercial was Orson Welles. He comes over, and I'd never seen a fatter human being in my life. And as a kid, they're brutally honest. My dad's against the wall, like watching. And so he comes over and he says, "I'm Orson Welles." And I said, did you know you're fat?
Oh my gosh.
My dad about fell to the floor. He's like, no one has ever told me I'm fat. And I said, well, you are. You ought to be careful, like doing this candy commercial will probably kill you, basically. And he said, what is your name, you impetuous little thing? And I said, Connor. So a little backstory, my agent, anytime someone was to meet me, no matter how big the celebrity, she always would tell them the little shit Connor. When he tells you his name, he's very proud of it. When he tells you, act like you've heard of him and watch his face. Oh my gosh. So I said, my name is Connor. And he goes, no, Connor Quinn? And I go, yes, from Little House on the Prairie. And I've also done McDonald's commercials. And he said, I know exactly who you are. It's a privilege to be with you. And I said, well, yes, thank you. And he shook my hand, and he said, now you can say you shook the hand of a man who shook the hand of Charlie Chaplin. And I didn't know who that son of a bitch was. I didn't know who the guy was shaking my dad was dying.
Oh my God.
And bless his heart, Orson was so sweet. He didn't take offense to anything I said. He played with me. He gave me the room. He gave me my little 9-year-old ego to, let me think I had one over on him. And he listened to what I had to say. And I'll never forget that such a legend in film had as much as they say negative things about Orson, none of that was there. It was a sweet man, like a grandfather. And he knew that filming commercial is long and arduous and that there's a lot of stop and go. So several of his kids that were in the commercial, he would gather us up and show us magic. Well, I had never seen magic before in my life. It blew me out of the water that he was able to pull quarters out of my, hell, I didn't have to work ever again. There's apparently quarters in my ears. And not only that, he would show us how he did it. He treated us like an adult. And yeah, my dad was very grateful. I'm very grateful. Of course, I don't remember as much. I hear my dad telling this story to others about how what his son did to Orson Welles. But it's just stuff like that, just going down the list of the people I've somehow engaged with, worked with, like, legends, like James Mason, Cary Grant, just names that I wouldn't think that someone my age would be associated with, but that I was. Some of the guys I hung around with was, like Jason Bateman. That story. One of my best buddies, Anthony Powell, who lives up in Wichita. His dad wrote almost all the episodes of Andy Griffith. He created the Hogan's Heroes. So Anthony grew up in Hollywood. We grew up together in a kind of a secluded lifestyle. We're, like you said, we're a bunch of weirdos.
Are you the one that dished on Jason?
Allowed,
Listen, Connor, are you the one that dished recently in the media about Jason Bateman on the set of?
No.
Somebody came out. You may have heard it, and dished about their experience with Jason Bateman on the set of Little House? I guess he
No,
was.
that wasn't me. I think I'm familiar with what you said, but no, I love Jason.
Okay.
There was this friendly rivalry when we were that age together. Yeah, he was in another league. I thought we were in the same league, and I was pissed off. He was always winning, and but no, I would never. It's just not me to do that. But
It
I
wasn't
loved
like
him and his
negative.
sister.
It wasn't like overtly negative. It was just
Oh,
kind of.
okay.
Jason
Gotcha.
Bateman's always had this, even when he was on the Hogans, like he's had the same dry. He is
Yes.
like Jack
This
Benny.
suave, like
You know what I mean? He's just got this
exactly. Yep.
this dry, very Jack
Like,
Benny. Yes.
Right. Well, I don't want to do that because I don't have to. He had that kind of
Yes.
attitude. Even when we were on Little House, he would make Michael laugh because Michael would need us to stand over there, and I think it was him and the kid that played Willie, which is actually that's Melissa Gilbert's actual brother that played Willie, and so there was a scene now. Kathy McGregor that played Mrs. Olson, I always thought of her as an aunt. She was wonderful and sweet, but I'd never seen her in action. What the viewers see, the mean woman, I had never seen that. I only knew her off the set. I was never in scenes with her to see her yell and scream and cry. And we were going to shoot a scene in the Mercantile, and this was, it may have been Paramount. I can't remember what studio we were on, the interior of the Mercantile. And Jonathan Gilbert, that's Melissa's brother, that played Willie Olson. There was me, him, and Jason were supposed to. Michael and I gathered us around and said, "Do you see all these candy jars in here with penny candy?" Yeah. It's like, well, we're not going to roll camera yet, but we're going to practice. I want you to pick out one of those, one or two that you like, and I want you to pull the lid off and put as many of those in your mouth and put as many of those in your pocket as you can, and then get out of here. Okay. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but can we keep them? And he's like, keep what? And I said, the candy, is it real? And he's like, yeah, it's real. And I'm like, can we eat it? He's like, don't tell your mom, but yeah, you can keep it. Okay, then I'll do it. Okay. And so Jason was like, yeah, fuck, I'll do it. And, same with Jonathan. So we're practicing, the camera's not rolling, and he tells us to do it. And so, hell, I saw these with red jawbreakers. I'm going to get that. And boy, I started filling, oh my God, filling it as fast as I could, every one I could. Little did we know that Catherine McGregor, Mrs. Olson, come out swinging this damn broom, yelling at us, wanting to know what us, dirty, rotten scoundrels are stealing her candy. And she starts swinging that and breaking glasses. And oh my God, I was scared to death. What happened to her? She, we're just practicing and she's yelling at us. And I didn't know what to do. We bouncing into each other and knocking over glasses. And we finally got out of the set. I couldn't remember where the door was. Well, come to find out, Michael did this all the time. He was filming the entire time, but he told us he was not filming because he wanted natural reactions. And, Catherine come over and held me, it's like, you're okay. It's like, I'm not really mad at you, because it was so like, oh my God, she was turned up. Like, I thought she hated me. But the scene stealer of that whole thing was Jason Bateman. I mean, he was the true actor. I mean, he carefully selected. He only wanted one gumdrop from here, and he'll take two from there. And that lady, it does not faze him at all. It was so hilarious that he was Jason Bateman all the way through, even back then.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, no, I love him.
Well, I'm going to say that Jason Bateman may be a bigger household name than you, but
you can do more voices.
I might make Brett cry when I point out the fact that you were in the 1980s Transformers TV series.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was. Yeah, that was where I first met Peter Cullen.
We got to stop talking, Connor, also, because you're just becoming.
Also with Frank Welker.
Oh my God. Two
Frank
titans.
And, that was when I first. Well, two titans. Actually, I had met Peter before that because me and him had done. Our voices are all over Disneyland and Disney World on the ride. So we've done several things together, and so I had met Frank, he appeared years when Disney was alive. He appeared on screen with Annette Funicello and Paul. Is it Paul Inca? Anyway, I can't remember the guy's name. But anyway, he appeared on screen as kind of like the hippie guy. It's just hilarious. I mean, what a wonderful actor. And but yeah, I was on Transformers for a few episodes. I was also on G.I. Joe, and I was so afraid. I was again young, and for both of them, you had producers that were Japanese, and I thought they were mad at me. They're yelling at us, and I told Frank, I said, why do they hate us? And Frank's like, you don't need to be afraid. They don't hate us. I'm like, well, why are they yelling? And he goes, that's their culture. They're very excited about what we're doing. They don't hate us. They like us. I'm like, well, you got a funny way of showing it. I don't like it. And he's like, well, got to change that attitude. It's all about love. So, yeah, that's reaching way back, probably 1980, I guess. I was probably 10 years old doing stuff for them.
Wow. God,
all the way up to when I was 16. Yeah.
The thing is
it's crazy.
Colin he's etched himself in. People don't think about him, but he was also the voice of Eeyore for a time as well. But when you when you tell somebody that, and I think most people are tone deaf to voices. They just see characters. But I think there's no escaping.
They do.
There's no escape in the story Peter tells about how he came up with the voice for Optimus Prime is his brother, but again, I geek out about that stuff. But when you listen to Eeyore and you go, now I see it. Now I can hear it now.
Now you do. Exactly. It's like, and I miss, like, being here in LA, we have sessions, Disney, some of the others require us in their studios because there is a naturalness of energy. There's nothing like hanging out with people I've worked with my whole life.
Exactly.
And, how are their kids? How is, talking with whoever. And whereas most of the people today getting into voiceover are recording solo in their studio in Boynton Park, Illinois, they never get to experience Hollywood. I grew up in Hollywood, where you would drive as fast as you can to get to the studios, and then you would hang out with June Foray and Peter Cullen, and they'd be interested in your story. They knew who your parents were, and they'd ask about them, and you would just hear some of the great dirty jokes that Peter would tell, or some of the amazing experiences Frank had with Walt Disney. He would tell you, personal things of walking, being called into his office and riding rides with it, just stuff you don't normally hear, or maybe things they can share privately that they can't talk about on YouTube or in an interview. I do miss that, and that's why I love being back here in LA is getting in touch with those stories and that sort of thing. If I come back, then I'll have to tell you about working with Robin Williams and Walter Connor.
Oh God,
stop
no,
it!
No.
You have to stop.
Okay, yeah, no.
Disney.
Connor,
no, listen, he's gonna need a janitor just to help pick up all the names he's been dropping all night.
Dude, I'm telling you.
I apologize.
No,
sorry, I don't mean to come across that way.
No, honestly,
please be pretentious. We love it.
I have like 52 more questions, but this is officially the longest that
interview
we've ever done,
and we've interviewed.
Are you serious?
Yes, we've interviewed the lieutenant governor of the state of Oklahoma. And it wasn't this long. And he wasn't, I love you, Lieutenant Governor. You weren't as cool as this guy. You know what I mean?
I've never been cool.
You're the coolest kid. Dude, you're the
guys.
coolest kid in the classroom right now. There's only 3 of us, and it's night school. So it doesn't take much. But, dude,
I'm that kid in the McDonald's commercial that couldn't skate, that nobody wanted to hang out with. Only Ronald.
You're the kid that couldn't Connor, you're the kid on the McDonald's commercial that couldn't skate. Do you know how I related to
I
you?
couldn't skate.
I'm 48. I can't skate to save my life. I
thought they were going to teach us, but what I didn't know is all those other little boys and girls could skate their, all day long. I went there thinking they were going to teach us. Well, then they had me try it. Of course, I fell down while they're using that. And King Moody, that played Ronald, is the one that came up with the idea of, like, he would take all the kids skating around, and then he would notice that there's one kid not with him, and he wants everyone to feel included because he's Ronald McDonald, and he puts them to the side and comes over and picks me up and, takes me around the pond. So I felt like I was skating. So that was back in the days when, corporate messages were just more about the dollar. It was more about making everyone feel good.
Well, super impressed with everything that you've done. Like literally, I've got.
He said he's coming. He said, well, next time I come back, you've said it, Connor.
I've got 100 more questions. Just
right.
and that's not
So
from. That was just publicly available information, not just, not all the stuff that you dropped in my lap, like on your own. So
yeah, I don't know what they sent you. Okay, so what you said you had 50. So give me one more last question. I think that'll be a good one.
I don't know.
What question would you guys want to ask?
Goodness gracious.
I got one, and it's Oklahoma related.
Okay,
and it's a good one to close out with. How has the move to Oklahoma impacted your work and your personal life?
So there's positives and negatives. So the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. I love Oklahoma to its core. So I attend a lot of networking and meeting small businesses because as much as it's wonderful that I've done all this stuff, when people go to my website, if they're from Oklahoma and they have a small business, they're looking, I can't afford this guy. He's the voice of Audi and he's done this and that. But I don't. Those price are usually union and those are for different corporate clients. So I have other budgets. Most people aren't even on the size of Braum's. And so it's grounded me in that this is my parents' background. I spent a lot of time growing up as a child in Oklahoma. I remember Braum's back in the day when it was Jim Varney and Hey Vern for Braum's. That was a huge campaign that they did.
Yeah.
So growing up when they just built Whitewater, when Frontier City was at its best, that growing up in that era of Oklahoma City still means a lot to me. And I can get anywhere in the metro probably in 20 minutes. You cannot go a block and a half in LA in 20 minutes. So when someone says, well, I'm in Norman, Connor, I don't know if it's like, you know what? I'll drive to Paul's Valley. It's not a big deal for me. In Oklahoma, how far is it? Well, I don't know. You're probably looking at about 15 miles. In Anaheim or in Los Angeles, they'll say, hey, how far is Disneyland? Well, let's see, what time is it? Oh, God, yeah, you're looking at 2 hours. They give it in distance in increments of time. Here in Oklahoma, it's just how far it is.
Right. You don't have to hop on the 5. Over here, it's I-35.
God, no. Yeah, and, it's been a long time since I've been wild and crazy. Again, this will be another story. I recently had to go back to L.A. several months ago, and I bought something in a gift shop that they shouldn't be selling in a gift shop in an airport, and I was so high on the 405 that I thought I was going 150 miles an hour. I was doing like 25.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, it was just it ought to be illegal. Why are you selling this in an airport, sir?
Right.
It shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the transition has been wonderful for me. I do love the fact of going back to LA just to work and not to live, because they have all their problems. It's I love LA of the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
And I love going down to PTH with the top down and listening to KHJ and all the boss jocks, and that was my LA. Today, they, just like in any number of cities, they have their own problems, and I don't know what the answers are, but it's sad all around for the city, for the people affected, the homeless, or the people that are beat up and killed by drugs, and it's sad, but it is trouble. Not trouble. It is a big thing to travel for me all the time, because I'm gone more than I am here. But when I am here, I just love it. There's just nothing that beats Oklahoma.
Hang on, Connor. Hang on a second. I'm watching this kid try to skate on my phone. Yep, that's Connor Quinn with the rabbit in the background.
That's Connor.
Somebody just sent that to me. So I was like, this is, dude, I can't even.
Oh my God.
You remember Chris Farley on SNL when he's talking to Paul McCartney? You remember that time when you're in the Beatles? That's how I feel like. You remember when you worked at Disney? That's kind of how I'm like. The next time you come in,
Yeah, Paul was like, yeah,
I do.
that's
dude.
hilarious. I do. That's so funny, man.
This
Who
has
would have
been
thought that, you'd remember a damn McDonald's commercial? That's
dude.
and I
There's
still
two
will get like fan letters or emails about that. It's like, I cannot believe
there are two
the
commercials.
millions of hits that gets, and McDonald's. Yeah, and McDonald's still uses that for their holidays. They still sometimes release that commercial for their holidays on their social media and sometimes network.
There are two
And
commercials that I
what's funny is
remember. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say they intercut their whatever modern actor is playing Ronald McDonald. They usually will cut him in, and they'll put his face on the insert. Of course, King Moody was who I was with, but they've used it over the years with the various actors that have replaced the old Ronald McDonald to make it more contemporary at the time.
Well, there are two.
What were you going to say?
Two Christmas commercials I remember as a kid. The kid that couldn't skate for shit. In Peter, you're home. When Peter comes home in the Folgers commercial, those are the two fondest commercials. That just brings it home.
I mean, and unless you're from Oklahoma, then you, of course, the BC Clark. But
that's it. Not, Listen, not gonna say. No, hang on a second, Connor. I'm cutting you off because you keep saying I'm not from Oklahoma. I'm not from Oklahoma. You name dropped 4 towns. You know how to get from you. You said 39th and Tulsa, brother. You're an Okie. I'm sorry.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I love that. That's something I would take to my grave. Is my dad being from Oklahoma? He was born red and died red. So I didn't know what that was meaning until I probably turned 40, and then it's like, this place to call home is a wonderful state.
Well, Connor,
I don't know of any other state that's better.
We're almost 2 hours deep. It's only 6:23 where you're at. It's past our bedtime.
Lord.
But we've had, just an absolute blast. And we'd love to have you back on at some point just to kind of catch up and see where you're at. If you'd be willing to do that at some point.
That would be an awesome thing.
And maybe we can.
Yeah, and I won't keep you so long.
No, maybe you can get us a comped burger from Braum's. Hey, this guy, he's the voice.
Hell. Right. Next time I'm back in Oklahoma, I'll get your contact information, and we'll have to go out to dinner and shoot the breeze, man.
Let's do that. That would be and I've got a million questions to ask about Michael Landon, and I'm not doing it right now. I'm not going to do it right now.
I haven't even told you some of my better Michael Landon stories. They're awesome. He was a cool dude. I don't care what his,
right. I know.
Everyone has their things, but
I want to know what Victor French had to say about Michael Landon. I want to know what Victor French had to say about Michael Landon. They worked together a few times.
Victor French was larger than life. That was, in my opinion, the two biggest men I ever met in my life was Andre the Giant and Victor French.
Oh my God, dude!
And
you have to stop.
Both of them.
Your name. That's
everybody I've ever wanted to meet.
You got to stop, man. You've been the voice of every toy I've owned.
Seriously.
It's so damn funny. Yeah, Andre, he was playing Bigfoot in a commercial for Mattel, and I was playing with one of the little kids. We were playing with the toy, and he also was in our Honeycombs commercial. I did Honeycombs commercials for quite a few years, so he came to the Honeycomb Hideout, and what a sweet man. I mean, people were afraid of him.
A gentle giant, yeah.
He was. I don't know why people say the things. He would have given you the shirt off of his back if you needed it. That man was, and same with Victor French. I mean, he had a hard life. The whole thing of why him and Michael Landon ended up together. Michael basically saved his life, but Victor was an incredible, incredible person. He treated us kids like gold on that set. There was an episode where we think we found gold. It wasn't gold. It was iron pyrite.
Yep.
I'll have to tell you that. It was Victor French that made that episode pop.
Save the stories, Connor, please. We can meet over number 3 with a cherry limeade.
We're going to have you back on.
We'll have to have you back on. That's it.
Connor Quinn,
will.
VoxGuy.com, right?
That's it, VoxGuy.com. Yep.
Connor, it has been an absolute pleasure,
dude. Seriously.
You have 2 super fans.
Oh, man, likewise.
And
thank you so much. That's very kind of you, man.
You know, and I try my best.
appreciate it. Yeah, seriously, let's do
Yeah.
dinner
Well, and I dabble.
or lunch.
Listen,
whatever.
I dabble a little in the. You're just living. You're just a living. You're a legend, dude. And we're going.
No, I was lucky at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Well,
About 152,000 times. Yeah.
that's all right. That's all right.
Well, Connor, we absolutely loved having you on the show, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedule to talk with a couple of podcasters from Oklahoma.
And
Man, it was my absolute pleasure. This is by far my favorite podcast that I've done. You guys, your knowledge is incredible. Most of the guys are, a lot of times they ask for questions from my team, and they literally just for word for word, we'll just read those questions and then we're done. But your passion and your guys' nostalgia and memories and your humaneness means a lot to me, man.
well, you know, and I don't even know if I don't know if I could do it any justice, but when he returns, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. We're just going to leave it at that. But when
That's hilarious.
we're gonna have you back on, and it's gonna be, dude. I can't wait. Next time you're in town, holler at us. We'd love to chop it up, Connor.
I will do that. Yeah.
All right, man.
Go somewhere. All right, guys. You take care.
All right, thanks, bud.
Thanks, Connor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Listen, I can't. I shall not. I don't know. What a grab. That was a great. I'm going to give it to you. We threw a Hail Mary a while back. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And it finally came back in spades, man.
We talked to him for almost a solid 2 hours, and I don't think we even scratched the surface.
No, not at all. Not at all. And he said, next time. Listen, I'm going to hold you to next time. Okay? If you say you're going back for milk, you better come back for milk. That's what I told my dad. It just took a while to get the milk. So if you say you're coming back, I'm going to believe you.
Well, if you want more information or you want to follow him, which, dude, if you are anywhere near our age,
you know something he's done.
No, you know 1,000 things that he's done.
You know every person that he's worked with. And he has a 405 phone number. Seriously.
Well,
it's crazy.
Again, his website is voxguy.com.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend checking him out.
For sure.
But after the break, Rocket, Oklahoma, man.
Well, today's partner, once again, is Enid SOS or Enid Street Outreach Service, whichever you call them. They're a local nonprofit providing services to low-income, hungry, and or unsheltered in and around Enid, Oklahoma, and especially this time of year where those services are in high demand right now.
They are, and I mean, with the weather change and all that, it's definitely something. If you are concerned about the people that are hungry or unhoused under normal circumstances,
right?
When it's 25 degrees outside, it changes the game entirely. They do a great job with connecting individuals to medical services to address their health concerns. They distribute nutritious meals in and around the Enid area with people who are struggling to find adequate food. And really all of the work that they do is made possible entirely through the
volunteers,
contributions from volunteers, donors, and supporters. That's it.
And listen, if you don't have the time, but you have the dime, or if you have the dime and you don't, it doesn't matter. If you want to find out more about them, you head over to, if you want to find out more, head them up at enidsos.org.
So our news story for today, sir, is a very interesting one.
Yeah, I just feel like everything that we've said after the interview is just like, oh, that's neat.
It is, but this is actually really cool.
Okay. I'm ready. Let's talk about it.
Business Facilities Magazine has a news story aerospace and aviation locations soaring to new heights. In this news article, Oklahoma hits the list more than once.
Jesus Christmas. There's a lot of money on the line.
Yeah, this aerospace and defense spending in Oklahoma, $44 billion in annual economic impact.
Billion with a B?
Yes, employs over 120,000 Oklahomans. We export products from Oklahoma to 180 countries.
It's big league. We're a big league town.
This sector is Oklahoma's second largest and one of its fastest growing industries.
Listen, I worked at the FAA. I know what's going on out there. There's a lot of secrets.
UFOs.
Lots of UFOs.
We're building them.
But they could never figure out a way to dump salt on the parking lot, so we didn't bust our ass when we walked into the building. But, dude, it's good for everybody involved. Now that the government's back up and running, let's throw $44 billion at it.
Well, there's some interesting stuff here, like the full spectrum test bed and space capabilities.
Uh-huh.
The Oklahoma Air and Spaceport is one of only 14 FAA licensed spaceports in the nation.
That's killing. That's awesome, dude.
How weird would it be if we start regularly seeing rocket launches from Oklahoma?
People are going to lose their minds. There's enough. I work with a guy. And I think he just does it to bust my chops. I get conspiracy theory updates 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
He's like, have you watched the documentary Q yet? No, I haven't. Have you watched it yet? I'm Flat Earth. I cannot wait until we start doing rocket launches because he won't shut up. I love him, but he won't shut the hell up.
Well, apparently there are a lot of reasons why Oklahoma is a good place for your aerospace companies. We are the lowest overall cost of doing business in the U.S. We are 5th in corporate tax climate. We have over 82 targeted incentives for the aerospace industry. And there is a company called Firehawk Aerospace that is investing in a facility near Fort Sill to produce hybrid rocket motors in Oklahoma.
Dude. You know what I found out?
What?
Speaking of FAA and aeronautics and aviation and such, I work with another guy who said, the Dark Star in Top Gun Maverick?
Mm-hmm.
It's a real plane. I've touched it. He said it's not called the Dark Star. It's basically replacing the SR-71. Did you hear it here first?
But let's be honest, that's not as cool as being in Transformers.
It's not as cool as beep, bop, 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 be in person. No, it's not.
No, not at all. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's kind of cool. It's pretty damn cool. In its own sub. If you got a cool shit subcategory, touching the Dark Star from Top Gun Maverick and knowing it's real, it's pretty big. That's a big deal.
I guess so, but man,
I don't want to do another interview after this.
It does.
It pales in comparison.
Kind of ruins some of the other ones.
Because you're like, yeah, Rose Rock Festival, but how's your George Jetson impression? You know what I mean? Like,
can you tell us about the time that Andre the Giant came to your Rose Rock Festival?
It's just, yeah. Okay, you're not allowed to book interviews unless they're cool anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, if you want more information about Oklahoma and space, I'll include a link in the show notes. But we do have some feedback that we need to get to before we get out of here because this is a long show.
Oh, my God. Okay.
We could have had Connor Quinn do a feedback voiceover for us, but we didn't think about it. Anyway, missed opportunities.
Yeah.
So we do have a little bit of feedback
Oh,
in
God.
reference to our Forgotten Cemetery.
I can already hear it. Can I do
video.
it in the? Can
Go
I
ahead.
read it in the voice that
Go
I
ahead.
think it is?
Go ahead.
This first piece of feedback is from 27 Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
It reads, instead of hyping this cemetery up as a forgotten cemetery, do your research on it. The website's Oklahoma cemeteries or find a grave to find out the history. Many of us have been documenting its demise for years. Well, guess what?
I get
it.
fair point, but I will say I live 150 yards away from this cemetery and have lived in this house
Legit.
for 15 years, and I did not know there was a cemetery over there.
Right. We had a tipster.
So I think Forgotten Cemetery still counts, just because people who've researched it know it exists.
Okay, how about hidden cemetery? It may
Either
not be
way.
forgotten, but it's hidden. And if you, I'm doing this real quick.
All right.
27 Ranch. If you cared so much about the damn cemetery, why don't you take your weed eater out there and clean it up a little? We've been documenting this for years. Well, you haven't done anything about it. You're not out there. No, hang on a second.
I'm listening.
You're not out there cleaning it up. You're on the internet bitching at me because I said forgotten cemetery. Yeah. You know what forgotten looks like? Forgotten looks like headstones that are flattened or fallen over. Forgotten looks like grass that's not mowed, that's only mowed around the grave site. Those people that are in the ground have been forgotten by the community, and they've been forgotten by you, 27 Ranch. And I hope you hear this. If don't talk shit, do shit. That's all. Thank you.
All right. So we have some positive feedback that
Goodness
Brett can't throw a
gracious.
hissy fit about from our 13 Cutest Towns video. KHDUR on YouTube said, damn you for planning my next domestic road trip. How can I resist an excellent chicken fried steak? How could anyone?
They can't. The mercantile chicken fried steak, and I know there's a lot of controversy about Ree Drummond and her family's connection to the land, and especially after Killers of the Flower Moon came out, a lot of controversy about the location, Osage County, and things like that. So, that being said, people hate Michael Jackson, but I don't care. I like his music. You can hate Ree Drummond all you want, but there's a damn good chicken fried steak right there in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, that tastes just like my grandma made. So, kiss my butt, folks. Go get it. I'm trying not to be salty about it, but God, people, I'm done. I'm done with the negativity. Forgotten cemetery.
You know, we passed that, right?
Yeah, we're circling back because it's
Wow.
only 150 yards away. It's hard to miss if you don't know it's there. I'm done. Oh, I'm done officially. I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Well, if you have some information that you would like to throw our way, maybe Brett will find an opportunity to rip you a new one live on the internet.
If you want to get ripped a new one live on the internet, send it in. Go ahead.
But seriously, we do appreciate you listening, even if you don't agree with us.
How about Hidden Valley Ranch? Oh, no, Forgotten Valley Ranch. Anyways, I'm done.
Well, this has been the Only an OK show. I am Harley.
And I am a force to be reckoned with.
And we're out of here.
Peace.